We just submitted our nominations for the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, and I'll just reveal a little secret to you. I nominated us for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Guy Pearce, Best Costume, and Best Production Design. Also, Best Cinematography. It's loaded.
Yeah, it's loaded in more ways than one.
Yes, right. Yeah.
The first movie with an intermission I think I've seen since a roadshow cut of Hateful Eight, which wasn't the actual cut of that movie.
Yeah, and for me, it's the first time to see a movie that's a new release that had an intermission. It had to be like Gettysburg in the 90s, like mid-90s.
Yeah, and that was a TV movie even. So then they have fallbacks, they have qualifiers. This, I can't believe I sat in an IMAX Dolby Cinema, watched this in 70 millimeter with a 15-minute intermission that was filmed actually for the film. It's a weird thing.
All right, so let's talk about it. It's going to get a lot of accolades from a lot of reviews, and the critics already adore it. Let's see if the fans are going to appreciate it. And the opportunity to see it, it's The Brutalist.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody.
Yes.
I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Of course, I'm going to say it. We do have a Patreon. Check that out for some great deals. I just want to announce that we're going to have up a blog from me, the St. Paul Filmcast blog. So we'll look that up, and I'm going to do some written reviews. That's another new increment for the new year. And today we're talking about one that's probably going to get a Best Picture nomination. I'll be surprised if it doesn't.
It might get two, actually.
Probably get two, right. It's The Brutalist.
So, following the Holocaust, Hungarian-born Jewish architect Laszlo Toth has emigrated to America in search of safety, security, and a better life. While awaiting the arrival of his wife Erzsébet and niece Zofia, he attempts to scrape his way to success with his architectural skills. And when he befriends a wealthy industrialist with a passion project, he finds that his perfectionism and need to prove lead him down a dangerous path.
So this has all the ingredients that the Oscars love to nominate for Best Picture. It's historical fiction.
It's long.
It's long, very long. It's take place in the deep past. It's very sweeping, very large scopes, and of course it has a sexual assault in it.
Yeah.
They love those ingredients to get a Best Picture nomination. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a movie that, when I went to the screening for this film, Hunter Friesen, fellow critic of our Cinema Dispatch, was going back to see the movie after he'd seen it like 4 weeks earlier.
Please,
what are you doing? Like, why are you seeing this movie? Like, at 3.5 hours would you want to come back? And the crazy thing is, when I left the theater, I was like, I kind of want to see that again.
Right.
And I just recently watched it yesterday in preparation for our episode.
I watched it twice too.
And it's better on the second time, and I think that it flows better on the second time. What's so captivating is that this is not a movie that I can suggest to people to say go see it twice in the theater, but I would say go see it in the theater if you can. Go to one of the premium formats and then watch it when it comes home as well.
Right. It's one of those things that gives a hint that's going to be bombastic, but it's very lust and very trapped in detail.
Yeah,
that I really think fascinating.
That's the thing that's funny is when you think 202 minutes, and that's what the version that we watched at home with the smaller intermission.
Yeah.
You think that kind of a length about a Jewish architect and his passion project. You know, like, what else is there? Like, after you get past that 10-minute story, what else is there for 3 hours?
Yeah.
And I don't really honestly know what else is in this movie because it just has such a perfect flow for that length that it's hard to break down minute by minute what's taking place.
You can criticize me in the comments. I did not put Adrien Brody for Oscar nomination for Best Actor, but the thing is, it's so deceiving because he's good every time he's in a movie.
Yeah, well,
it's almost
role,
and he's fantastic. I would not fault for you for putting him in as an Oscar for Best Actor.
The thing is, this role is so similar in some ways to The Pianist. Like, it kind of feels like a spiritual successor to The Pianist. Just because of the way in which his character kind of is out of the war in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying it's the same person, but like he brings that same kind of energy
very much,
and pain to it.
Very much like a Lawrence of Arabia. I am great, but I don't want to be known to be great. I'm trying to have a time establishing that I'm a great architect.
Well, he's also trying to find... He needs to find a way to prove that he belongs here. That's what kind of he feels, is that he belongs with this. He has something to give to the world.
You've earned this right to be at the table. And at that table scene is fantastic, where he doesn't feel comfortable being at the table, where he's probably more talented than anybody there, even though he's not the richest person there.
And everyone around him seems to be giving him things, and you don't notice, especially on the first watch, I didn't really appreciate how often he's given something at the beginning of this film that is kind of used against him later on in the film. And I think this is the 3.5-hour movie that boils down to one line, which is, these people don't want us here. I think about that line when I watched the movie yesterday again. In the car between him and Elizabeth, Laszlo says, these people don't want us here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they want us for what we can do, not
for them.
Who we are.
Yeah, for them. Right. Great entry for all characters. Even in the 2 hours, and all of a sudden Felicity Jones shows up.
Yeah, I didn't realize until the intermission. I was like, oh, yeah, she's in this movie because she's in the picture. I don't know. I think she speaks in the first half, like voiceover style. Mm-hmm. But even like Zofia, who's Raffi Cassidy, I only really know her from the Dark Shadows movie from 2012. And she opens up the film. But I kind of forgot that she was going to be in the movie until she shows up. This really does feel like if it was based on a book, it would be released as The Brutalist Part 1 and The Brutalist Part 2, and it'd be 2 separate films.
Yeah.
Because there is like such a...
this 500-page novel.
Yeah, there's like a 3-act structure to both portions.
Right. Fabulous way of presenting the credits, fabulous way of introduction to the movie. I'm probably going to think that this is probably going to be forced to watch in film school kind of a movie in later years. I do like that you see it's on the poster, the upside down Statue of Liberty. It's a great metaphor of what's it's a marker for immigrants, but it's kind of skewed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's there where you really see the impressive music that is on display in the film, especially because it's not really a oneer, but it's presented as if it's kind of a oneer. Yeah. I know that it's not really, but as they're leaving the thing, and there's that wash of light as they get outside, and you don't really know where they are. You know that they're on the boat, but you don't really know where they are. And then that moment where the camera goes up and actually rests upside down on the Statue of Liberty, and it is kind of like askew, like welcome with some caveats.
Director Brady Corbett, I know from his movie from the early mid 2000s, Mysterious Skin, I think, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's another long digestive movie, but it's also about childhood sexual assault trauma, and it's hard to watch a movie that's 3 hours long about that.
That's fair. Yeah, I haven't.
I like his quote that people are not going after and not absolutely conquering that they're going to risk failure. I like this. You can see this ambition of him doesn't really care if they're going to fail with this or not.
When he's so passionate about doing things the right way in his mind that he, in large portions he forgoes payment. He forgoes at the own expense of him and his family. He's a deeply flawed character as much as anyone else in this film. He is not a completely likable.
Or the director. Okay.
Laszlo is not a completely likable character because he is so passionate with putting everything into this project that he's willing to forego the safety and security of his family once they've arrived in America. Yeah,
I like when his odd jobs of not wanting to be an architect. It's almost like the person that's kind of toxic for him is going to make him what he wants to be, the architect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all everybody's relationships are very flawed. Even his married life is very much not the idealist.
Yeah, it's kind of like there are many times when we don't really like Laszlo as a character, but the thing about it is that we also understand him very well, and we understand where he's come from and the pain that he's bringing with him from the Holocaust.
He doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah, and you can understand then why he would make these kind of poor decisions, why he would do the things that he does that make him reprehensible at times. Yeah. We get it at the same time. And I think the character that really shows that flip side is Harrison Van Buren, who is Guy Pearce in the film. Who I think is wonderful. Maybe chewing a little too much scenery at times. Like, he's really enjoying playing this kind of uncertain character.
I love when he's looking at the plans and getting a shave. He's not doing anything, but it's so powerful. Like, that's fantastic. But he's just laying there getting a shave looking at the plans.
Yeah, that mixed with, like, his weird outburst scenes, like when he shows up to the library and he sees that they've been messing around. My mother is very sick. Yeah. Like, he's I don't know that it's a great performance, but it certainly is bombastic. And it certainly flips the head on the more quiet and calm Laszlo.
Yeah, it's about time Guy Pearce gets something, right? He's been nominated a few times.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, what do you think of The Brutalist? Very few people have had an opportunity to see it already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to take a 15-minute intermission, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk 30 more minutes about... No, I'm joking. Let us know when you saw it down below, what you thought about the film. Again, if you are hesitant about a 3.5-hour movie...
I get it.
I totally get it, yeah. And because I think about movies like The Irishman, which I love The Irishman, it feels like a long movie. And I wonder if an intermission would help. Killers of the Flower Moon, I went to see it. I think I saw it twice in theaters, and both times I felt the length of that movie. So I can understand the hesitancy about going to see one, but I do think that having the intermission in the theater actually does break it up really nicely. You get to go to the bathroom, you get to get some food.
But I didn't have that same
You have that
reaction
feeling.
when I knew classics. When I went to theater to see classics like Dr. Zhivago and Lawrence of Arabia, I didn't have that sense of like, oh, it's going to be a long thing. And I think that's kind of it's kind of because it's a classic regarded as a masterpiece that you're willing to like, I understand it's going to be long.
But I think with like films like Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, you feel the epic in the story.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the Brutalist, there's no way to describe
There's no
this film
epic
to me
battle,
as
right,
epic,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And the closest film I can compare it to is Once Upon a Time in America. But again, that's a mobster story. It's a crime film in a lot of ways too. And so you at least have that. It's really hard to sell 3.5-hour Architect.
Building a cathedral, library, shrine.
Yeah, and they say, it spans decades, but like a lot of it's really in like two distinct time periods. So please let us know your thoughts on the film down below. We'd love to hear about them. And that means good, bad, and ugly. If you don't love the movie, that's totally fine. Just let us know why, because that's kind of the fun of doing this show. Yeah. And you can find out, I've got a very lengthy, maybe not 3.5 hours lengthy, but review of Brutalist over on my website.
Yeah, he does.
GoatFilmReviews.com, so go ahead and check that out.
And thanks for watching.